This is what can happen when you forget the old ways. Snow came early that year. Not heavy at first, just a thin, careful dusting that clung to fence posts and window ledges like something testing its grip. Lars Anderson noticed it first when he went out before dawn to check the cows. The barn door creaked open as always, hinges groaning in the cold, his breath fogging the air. Everything was quiet, a lot quieter than usual. The cows stood rigid in their stalls, eyes wide, sides heaving. One of them had torn its tether loose. Another had defecated in panic. The smell was sharp and sour as he entered. "Easy," Lars murmured, running a hand along the nearest's flank. The animal shuddered under his touch. That was when he saw the footprints. Small, bare, and deeply pressed into the frost-dusted hay, as though whatever had made them weighed far more than its size suggested. Lars straightened slowly. No, it couldn't be, he whispered. He hadn't believed in all the stories for years, not properly, not since his father died, and all the old habits had died with him. Milk on the sill, porridge by the hearth, and butter, always plenty of butter. Superstitious nonsense, he'd told himself. Old country rumors. But the footprints led to the corner of the barn and just stopped. 3 years earlier, it started with forgetting. It was the winter after Lars' father had passed. They began to slip. But at that time, the spirit was still happy. They didn't forget about the land's guardian straight away. It just slowly slipped from their minds over time. Ingrid Anderson was a woman who had always prided herself on keeping a clean house. Her mother had taught her that order was a kind of prayer, that a well-kept home pleased both gods and land alike. But modern life had a way of grinding old rituals down to nothing. The children had schoolwork. Lars worked longer hours hauling timber. Ingrid herself was tired, bone-deep tired, the kind that settled into the joints. The porridge pot stayed empty one night. Nothing happened. Weeks later, she forgot again, yet still nothing happened. For 3 years this went on. A missed night here and there turned into an empty windowsill most evenings. And that was when the spirit decided their family needed a memory jog. It started with startled cows producing sour milk. They didn't understand why it was happening. By the third night, Ingrid noticed the milk jug in the pantry had tipped over, spilling across the shelf. She blamed the children, but they denied the accusation. On the 5th night, the broom fell from where it leaned against the wall, landing hard enough to wake them all. The youngest, Soren, sat up in bed and whispered, "Mom, someone's walking." Ingrid listened. The house creaked, but houses always creaked in winter. Still, she did not sleep for the rest of the night. Their chicken coop was destroyed that night. Not torn apart, not broken into, destroyed. Wood and mesh had been scattered across the surrounding field. Each bird lay neatly arranged in a line, necks twisted backward, eyes open. No feathers scattered, no blood spilled. just death, precise and deliberate. Lars stared at them for a long time. "This isn't a fox," he said finally, turning to his wife. "I don't know what could do this." Ingrid hugged herself against the cold. It's just the cold doing strange things. Or maybe a sickness. She did not say the other word. Neither did he, but they both thought it. That night, she left a bowl of porridge by the hearth and a cup of milk. In the morning, it was all gone. The bowl was clean, the cup empty. After that, things changed. The animals calmed. The house felt settled. Ingrid found small chores done that she didn't remember finishing. Firewood stacked more neatly than Lars ever managed. Snow cleared from the steps despite no footprints leading away. She told herself it was coincidence. And that's when she began to feel watched. Not stared at, more like judged. If she lingered in bed too long, the fire would go out. If Lars swore in the house, a cup would shatter. If the children ran indoors with muddy boots on, their shoes would vanish by morning, to be found later frozen solid in the yard. The old rules were returning to the Andersons' farm, and they were stricter now. Old Mikkel from the next farm over laughed when Lars mentioned it. "You're talking about a Tomte?" he scoffed. "You're not a child, are you?" But Mikkel lived alone. He kept no offerings, mocked old ways openly. 3 nights later, Lars heard screaming as he was bringing in the cows. They found Mikkel hanging from his own rafters, feet just brushing the floor, spine crushed as though squeezed in a giant's fist. His eyes were open, staring at the door. Carved into the beam above him were words, gouged deep into the wood with something sharp and small. "Remember your place." The priest said it was a tragic accident. No one believed that, especially not Lars. Ingrid made the porridge every night after that, until the butter ran out. "It will be fine," Lars said. "It's still food." But Ingrid hesitated, her mother's voice echoing in her head. Butter is respect. She placed the bowl down anyway, hoping it was enough. That night, the cold came like a living thing. Frost raced across the walls. The fire died with a hiss. The children woke screaming as the house groaned and shrank around them. From the cupboard came a sound like nails dragged across wood, then a voice, dry, old, and raspy. "You were warned." The morning came slow. None of them slept a wink. A cow was found broken in the barn, spine twisted like rope. That was when Lars saddled his horse and rode to the nearest town, buying as much butter as he could afford. That's also when he called for a hunter. The hunter arrived after sunset. Ingrid noticed him first, a dark shape moving along the snow-choked road where no one traveled once the light began to fail. He did not ride hard, nor did he hurry. He came at a steady, deliberate pace, as if the cold meant nothing to him. By the time Lars opened the door, the sky had gone iron gray, and the hunter had reached the gate. The man stood with his hood lowered. He was older than Ingrid expected, late 40s perhaps, with wind-creased skin and eyes that never quite stopped moving. His coat was stitched with repairs done carefully and often. Iron charms clinked softly at his belt when he shifted his weight. Lars Anderson, the man said, not asking, rather stating the fact. Lars swallowed nervously. Yes. I am Eamon Colt, he said. You asked for a hunter. The word hunter felt dangerous in the mouth. Ingrid stepped back to let him inside. The warmth of their house did not touch him one bit. Eamon removed his gloves and held his hands over the hearth. The fire flared briefly, then dimmed. His brow furrowed. How long since you fed it properly? He asked. Ingrid's heart sank. Last night. With butter? She hesitated. That long, then, he said quietly. He moved through the house without asking permission, then paused at the threshold, counting the beams. He tapped the walls with his knuckles, listening, not for hollowness, but for answers. In the children's room, he knelt and examined the floor. It watches from low places, he murmured. Corners, cupboards, beneath beds. Have you seen it yet? No, Ingrid replied. Soren whimpered. It knows when we're bad. Eamon looked at him gently. It knows when you're careless. Eamon rose and strode outside. The barn was worse. He stood in the doorway for a long time, breath misting, eyes tracing the air as though reading invisible script. This Tomte is bound to the land, he said, not just the house. That means it's been here longer than you, longer than your family. Lars clenched his jaw. Can you kill it? Eamon turned to him slowly, shaking his head. No. The word fell like a stone. You can bind it, Eamon continued, appease it, and drive it back into dormancy, but kill it? No, not without killing the farm as well. He crouched beside the dead cow, fingers pressed into the frost-stiffened hide. Crushed with joy, he said grimly. That's the dangerous kind. Back inside, Eamon asked for a knife. He pried up a loose floorboard near the hearth. Beneath it lay something Ingrid had never known was there, a small hidden cavity. Inside, there was a lot of wood shavings, bones, a rusted coin, and a plank no larger than a child's slate. Carved into it were names, dozens of them. Generations of Andersons, and the last name had been violently scratched out. Ingrid covered her mouth. You broke the chain, Eamon said. It will not forgive that easily. That night, Eamon set wards around the house, not holy nor kind. Iron nails driven into thresholds, salt scattered thin as frost across the floor. He hung bells, not to ward the Tomte away, but to announce disrespect. It will come, he said. Tonight. Lars gripped his rifle uselessly. What do we do? Eamon met his gaze. You do not lie. You do not bargain. And you do not forget again. The house went quiet as the hour deepened. Then suddenly, tap, tap, from inside the walls. Eamon stood, smiling grimly. There you are. The temperature dropped so fast, Ingrid's breath turned to fog indoors. Frost crawled across the beams. The bells rang once, then went eerily still. The cupboard door creaked open slowly. A small figure peeked out from the darkness, then unfolded itself into the room. The Tomte's gaze fixed on Eamon. "You brought iron into my house," it said. Eamon drew his charm and bowed, not deeply, but enough. "I brought memory," he replied. The Tomte's smile was slow and terrible. "Then you must remember what happens next." The fire flickered wildly, then died. The house shuddered as if struck by a great fist. Not from outside, from below. Ingrid screamed as the floorboards bowed, iron nails screeching in protest. Frost erupted along the walls in branching veins, glass frosting opaque in seconds. The bells Eamon had hung rang once, then split clean in half. The Tomte stepped fully into the room. It was taller now, not by much, but it looked wrong, as though the space itself had been forced to make room for it. Its shadows stretched far too long, bending up the walls and across the ceiling beams. Its beard hung in stiff ropes, glittering with ice. Its eyes reflected not firelight, but earth, dark soil, root, and stone. "You bring offerings too late," it said, its voice no longer coming from one place. It spoke from the cupboard, the hearth, the beams overhead. "I bring remembrance," Eamon said, forcing his breath to slow, "and correction." The Tomte's mouth split into a smile. "And I bring fear." Eamon reached slowly for the bowl Ingrid had prepared. Porridge thick, butter heavy enough to pool at the edges. A cup of milk steamed beside it, untouched. He placed the offering at the center of the room and stepped back. "For generations, this house honored you," he said. "You guarded it. You kept wolves from the herd and fire from the roof." The floor creaked as something shifted beneath it. "Yes," the Tomte said, "and I was fed." The house tilted swiftly. Ingrid was thrown against the wall as the far end of the room dipped several inches, wood groaning like a living thing. Lars fell to his knees. The children screamed, but Eamon did not move. "You were forgotten," he continued. "Not denied. Forgotten." The Tomte's eyes burned brighter. "Neglect is insult," it snarled. The walls closed in further. The Tomte raised one hand, and the barn door outside exploded inward, splintering as though struck by a siege ram. Snow and hay blasted into the room. From inside the barn came a wet, cracking sound. Wood breaking, beams collapsing. Roots burst through the floor, black and thick, curling like fingers. The hearth split open, stone grinding apart to reveal packed earth beneath, deep earth. "I am not small," the Tomte growled, its voice shaking dust from the rafters. "I am every nail driven into this house, every post sunk into this land, every winter this family survived." Eamon felt it then, the pressure, like standing too close to a mountain face. He dropped to one knee. "You want blood?" Eamon asked hoarsely. The Tomte laughed from everywhere at once. "I want order." It gestured, and the names carved beneath the floor burned. Letters flared white-hot through the wood, searing upward like ghosts. "Restore the chain," it said bitterly, "or I will shorten it." Ingrid sobbed. "Please tell us how." The Tomte turned its gaze upon her. "3 winters," it said. 3 months each year when I am fed first. No fire lit before my bowl is full. No lie spoken in this house on those nights. Eamon's stomach sank. "And the deaths?" he asked. The Tomte's eyes flicked back to him. They were lessons. Eamon forced himself upright and drove a final iron spike into the hearthstone. The house screamed silently. The Tomte roared, not in pain, but with fury, as its form wavered, edges blurring, shadows snapping back into place. "This house is not yours alone," Eamon said. "It belongs to those who live in it as well." "For now," the Tomte hissed. It loomed over him, vast in presence, if not in flesh. "Remember this, Hunter," it whispered. "I let you leave this place." Then the offering bowl scraped empty, the frost retreated, and the house settled. The Tomte was gone. Dawn came pale and thin. The barn was half collapsed. The cows lay alive but trembling, ribs bent but unbroken. The floor above the hearth bore a blackened handprint burned into the wood. Eamon packed his charms in silence. "You didn't defeat it, did you?" Lars said. Eamon paused at the door. "No," he replied. "I only reminded it." He nailed a plaque above the lintel before leaving. "Feed the house. Speak true. Remember." As he walked away, the snow fell gently on Anderson's farm. And beneath the hearth, something listened. The Andersons did everything right after that. The porridge was thick and hot, butter melting into golden pools. The milk was always fresh. The bowls were placed before any fire was lit, before a single word was spoken beyond prayer. Lars measured the nights by it now, marking the hours like a penitent. The house stayed standing. No more animals died. Yet, still it came. The first night, Ingrid noticed it crouched in the corner of the kitchen, half-formed in shadow. Not moving, not breathing, just there. She blinked, and it was gone. She did not tell Lars, but it repeated night after night. Nothing happened. It just silently watched. By the end of the second week, the children were crying under their sheets. "It's under my bed," Soren whispered, voice shaking. "It's not touching me. It's just looking out." Lars knelt and lifted the blanket. The space beneath the bed was empty, but there was frost on the floorboards shaped like little fingers. That same night, Ingrid saw an eye watching her through a crack in the floorboards near the hearth. Dark, patient, and unblinking. The Tomte did not speak, It did not threaten. It didn't even make a sound. It just observed. Sleep became impossible for the Andersons. When Ingrid closed her eyes, she felt its attention, like a weight pressing against her chest. When Lars tried to pray aloud, the words stuck in his throat, breath frosting the air, though the fire burned strong. Floorboards creaked, not with settling, but with movement. Cupboards opened just enough to reveal shadow and beard. Tiny hands wrapped around bedposts, knuckles white with strain, holding the creature just out of sight. It was everywhere and nowhere. By the third week, they were exhausted. It watched from a corner that night. Ingrid collapsed to her knees in the kitchen. "Please," she sobbed. "We've done everything. Please stop." The Tomte stepped into the firelight. It was small again, contained. Its eyes were older than the beams above them. "You still bind me here," it said calmly. Lars swallowed hard. "We honored you." "He nailed me," it replied, referring to Aemon. Its gaze slid to the hearth. Lars understood then. Aemon's iron spike, the ward, the insult. With shaking hands, he fetched the hammer. Each step toward the hearth felt like walking into open ground beneath a sniper's gaze. The Tomte watched closely now, its eyes following his every step. Lars gripped the nail and pulled. The sound it made was wrong, like a wet, tearing groan that came from the house itself. The hearthstone cracked, the fire guttered. The Tomte exhaled, then warmth spread through the room like a held breath, finally released. Lars stepped back and disposed of the nail. The creature nodded once. "Now," it said, "we are as we should be." Then it faded, not vanished, but settled. The shadows loosened their grip, the pressure lifted, the watching stopped, and for the first time in weeks, the Andersons slept. The next few days, the family lived on edge, but the creature didn't return. The Tomte was dormant once more. In the new year, Lars found the plaque Aemon had nailed above the door lying gently in the snow, untouched. The words had changed. "Feed the house. Do not bind it. Always remember." Lars nailed it back up, with wooden pegs this time. They would not forget again, because they knew what would happen were they to displease the Tomte again. But beneath the hearth, satisfied once more, something dreamt. For now. Thank you all for watching. Merry Christmas, everyone. Don't forget to like, share, and please do drop a comment. I do love hearing from my viewers. Also, it really does help grow the channel. Again, Merry Yule, everyone, and a Happy New Year. Until next time, sleep tight.